Hey guys, what's going on? It's Magic J here for another episode of Tea and Crumpets. We're here at Boundary Estate in Shoreditch. What's Boundary Estate known for, bro?
This is the first council estate ever, technically built in 1890.
Wow.
This is technically Shoreditch, a little bit of Bethnal Green, part of my dad's old manor.
Tower Hamlets.
Tower Hamlets Council still owns it, you know. But yeah, we're gonna explore it today. Let's get into it.
Shots by AK, Magic J. Let's go.
So this housing would have been built in the place of slums. So back in the day, before you had the council estates and before the war, there were just rows of terraced houses, which were essentially slum houses called 2 up, 2 downs. That's what they were known as.
2 up, 2 downs? Why 2 ups? Why 2 up? What, were they slanted together or something?
Nah, it's because there was 2 rooms in the bottom and there was 2 rooms upstairs. That was it. That was the whole thing, because there was 4 rooms in the house.
No bathroom, no toilet?
Outside bathroom.
Here, in a rabbit warren of narrow lanes, families were crammed into single rooms of cheaply constructed, mean and unsanitary dwellings. Even dark cellars were rented out by unscrupulous landlords. It is these squalid conditions which so many people called home.
My somewhere down there, great grandmother,
right,
when she came to London, she lived in a 2 up, 2 down in Pownell Road, London Fields, which isn't too far from here. And they had good communities, but the houses were not fit to live in. A lot of them were overcrowded. And so estates like this were built. This estate in particular was built for like poor relief, essentially for the people to live in better housing conditions, the people who lived in these slums, in these 2 up, 2 downs.
This reminds me of like Jamaica when they got some tenement yards. That house is probably just like a 1 room. You probably got a little kitchen, that's it, but you have to come outside, go round, and probably like where the bins are over there, you know, that's where you do your shower, and do your 1s and 2s.
No, literally, that's literally what it would have been like here. And then after the war is when most of them got knocked down, but obviously because this is an early housing development, this was a long time before that. So this was one of the first ever slum clearances to make way for new buildings.
As you're our personal historian,
naturally,
like you know a bit about this area, right?
Of course. So long story short, where we're standing right now is one of the most like defining features of this estate. So Boundary Estate, everyone knows it for the little circle in the middle, the mound. And what this was built on was the rubble of the slums that were demolished to build this estate and make way for this estate.
Wow. So
obviously it's like a communal area. When it was first built, this would have been revolutionary. It was the first ever council estate, and to have a communal area, whereas all the slums were just 2 up, 2 down, like terraced houses they still had a community vibe, but nothing like this. So it's revolutionary. So
God knows what could be underneath us right now.
Literally rubble, like foundations of old houses, everything like that.
You might find a coffin or some gold down there somewhere.
I was gonna say God forbid, but not God forbid the gold. Do you know what I mean?
So what was the first type of people what moved into this community?
Well, believe it or not, it was built, like I said, on the site of a slum called the Old Nichol, and it had like a really high rate of child poverty, and like I said, it was to increase living standards that this place was actually built.
At the fag end of the 19th century, a radical idea emerged. What if the state could house the working classes? So here in 1893 in Shoreditch, on the site of London's most notorious slum, work began on this, Britain's first ever council estate.
I think that the people who were moved in were the people who lived in the Old Nichol, but it wasn't. I think it was 11 residents from the Old Nichol actually got moved in. Bear in mind there were thousands of people living in this slum. So the people who got moved in were people who were seen as like bringing something to the community, whatever that meant at the time, because there was a lot of like classism. A lot of people looked down on poor people and saw them as like near animals. So they thought if we put people like teachers and I don't know.
So basically they mix it up with teachers and people, professional people.
Do you know what I'm saying? So they moved professionals in here, and it was an interesting fact. This was a dry area in terms of there was no alcohol sold here, no liquor, no alcohol shops, nothing, because it was this view of the poor that they need, if we're going to put them in somewhere where they're going to live, we can't have any alcohol. We can't let them be doing anything else. They have to be in a profession. So that's why, even though it's the first council estate, there's a few moral issues because the people who lived here before didn't actually get moved back in. So it's just like what we're seeing in London now, when you think about it, with the council estates that are being knocked down. So yeah, interesting history, but most of this is still council, not much of it is private. Another interesting thing about this area is when like all the slums got knocked down and this got rebuilt, and then only these professionals and stuff are allowed to move in, that caused massive overcrowding for the original residents. They moved to the slums in Dalston and Bethnal Green. So they then got overcrowded. So essentially, what the London Council did, it was very newly created at this time, was just push the problem out to other areas and built this with an excuse of saying we're helping the poor. Did it really happen? Well,
sort of like what our Prime Minister's doing now, isn't it? Trying to move us from our community into communities that we're not, that we don't know, basically.
Literally knocking down blocks, moving everyone out of London, uprooting their whole life. Do you know what I mean?
You see how the government is? Recycle.
Same old story.
Same old story from over 120 years ago today.
Have a little opening. Should go and have a look, see what the oldest council estate looks like inside.
Brother, I'm never scared, so let's come inside. Come, let's go.
Of course, come on then. You lead the way then. Wait, low ceilings, innit?
Wow.
Wow.
So I can imagine that people used to walk up in here every day. At least that they got a little greenery.
Wow, it's so old. You can tell by all the steps and the paint and the brickwork. None of this fake brick. It's nice and light.
Yeah. I don't know if I could live here forever though.
But you know what? I've been into similar buildings like this, and the flats are really like light inside.
Yeah.
They've got a lot of light in them. But I really like the stair. I like the fact that they've got these big windows with the greenery.
But it would be nice if they had like a window opening or some balcony or I don't know.
I think it's quite nice. I mean, I wouldn't be complaining if I lived in a slum, even though I wouldn't have been moved here. If I did live in a slum.
100 years ago, yeah?
Yeah, why not? Would have been fine. Better than living in a 2 up, 2 down. Probably an inside toilet as well, I can imagine.
True.
Can't complain. Living the dream.
If you notice here, this building here, the different blends. I don't know if it's because of the war, but if you look where we were walking around the opposite side where we parked, right, to come around here, all that side looks like it was old building, and then look here, like the colours of the bricks, that the bricks look shiny in the bottom, and look more.
Yeah. Nah, it looks like someone just added onto it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I know that back in the day there wouldn't have been any of this security door stuff.
No.
So they would have had to add that in. And then even if you look up there's completely new buildings. So I reckon it has something to do with the war.
Yeah, I believe so. It's definitely to do with the war, man.
But this is one thing about London as well. You can literally be in an estate, walk around the corner, new builds, everything new. Do you know what I mean? Look, it's like complete contrast just there. Even though they've tried to blend it a little bit, they ain't done it properly.
Have you noticed, you're right, in this community, they've got a lot of this little garden area, people converting old baths into, compost, probably growing, I don't know what they're growing, fruits, veg, whatever. And what does it remind you of?
Reminds me of broccoli.
Yeah.
Reminds me when we went and spoke to Vic Santoro.
Yes, sir.
They're doing similar things on the estate. Nice to see though, innit?
No, but this is the good thing. You know what I mean? You got everything around here. You know what I mean?
Saying.
The greenery, just to try to keep up and uplift the community in a great way. But
I think it's good as well. You got the contrast. Like when there's just brick and concrete, it looks a bit like harsh. But when you got that greenery, it makes such a difference. Like more than you would think. It impacts your mind.
Yeah.
Big time.
Bricks, yeah. If you could tell, these bricks here, you probably find them in those, Victorian pubs was probably still around. And the type of design of this, I don't know what type of design this is or what type of brick this is, but it's more the smooth. It's got a silky smooth texture compared to the gritty stone as we see in majority of the houses. But this gives effect to the Victorians, right?
Yeah, literally. This was prime Victorian time, and even this street where we are now, this is where all the shops were built. Yeah. So even when it was built, it had laundrettes, there were shops. I think this school, looks like an old Victorian building as well. So, you know, people, when they moved in here, imagine the difference. You're living in the slum and then this is built. I mean, I know it was only 11 people who moved in from the slum, but even just for the area, like, you were living in the slum, which was just pretty much terraced houses. You might have a couple of shops, but they made like huge purpose-built areas and everything. Do you know what I'm saying? So
imagine, bearing in mind, people, this is just one piece because there's so much blocks around here. If you can probably see from the school, there's so much built.
And also, this still counts as Tower Hamlets. So I don't want to hear.
And some parts is Hackney as well.
Is it?
Yeah. Half of it is Tower Hamlets, half of it is Hackney.
And it's near the city of London as well.
Yeah.
Imagine explaining that. Where would you say you're from? What, central London?
Still outside Boundary Estate area, we're outside the launderette. This ain't the original launderette, but we've got a lovely lady who's been working here for about 3 years, you said. And can you tell us the history of the launderette or where it originally was?
So, the original launderette, which is there, is now over the boundary to the right, but is now apartment blocks.
Right.
So it used to be, that was the inner workings of there.
So basically everyone had a role to play. So this guy will be putting the coal in to ignite the fire.
Exactly. And then you'll have your people, your mums and dads going in to do their washing. I think maybe these are the team that maybe would do your ringing out, because it looks quite a hectic, quite hard work. And I think they used to do the ironing there somewhere as well within, so that would warm up your water obviously to do your washing. You do it in there, and I think that looks more like a ringing area where you'd wring your clothes out.
Wow.
And then I think there was a drying area as well. Yeah. But we haven't got.
So how is it for you being working here for 3 years in this community?
I love it.
What is it about this community that you love?
What do I love? I love the people. It's like so diverse. People coming through the launderette, coming down the street. It just gives it that family vibe. You're welcoming all different nationalities down the road.
Yes.
It's just a welcoming neighbourhood.
Oh, that's lovely. That's what we like to hear.
Is there a good community here?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, there is. I think if you needed anything, because we were closed down.
Okay.
So all the neighbours come out to support us to get us open again.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
See, that's what we need is community support, and in some boroughs we're losing that.
Yeah. Exactly. So within here, like once we shut, the community was out supporting us, got us back open.
That's amazing.
So community support is good.
Okay.
That's what you need, which we don't have much of.
And then guys, if you live in the Tower Hamlets or the Hackney area or Shoreditch Old Street and you don't have a washing machine, please come here.
Boundary Estate, community laundry.
There you go. If you had friends, family from way back, or you got grandparents or great-grandparents or great uncles and aunties what came here, well, not to this precise spot because this is the new location, but to the original location, even if it's this spot in the last 30 years, please write it in the comment section and let us know what was your experience like coming around this community and coming here, or even your great-grandparents going to the original spot, which is only across the park. Look at this, man. What this reminds me of.
It's just like a proper old school shop, innit? Like everything's out the front. Yeah. Like it just looks old school. All the shelves look Victorian.
Something like you when you watch those Western movies.
Yeah.
And you see everyone got their stuff outside, and it's just like
coming like that.
Yeah, it was like definitely Victorian. It's like I watch a lot of those channels on. There's a channel on Instagram, a page on Instagram which shows all the Victorian stuff and a couple YouTube channels, and I love to see this because the older you get, you appreciate.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? So this is something what brings back that nostalgia to people who lived in the 18th and early 19th century.
Yeah, and I think it's good for the community having stuff outside, showing what you're seeing. Like, I think and it looks nice. Like,
it's not like how the fruit and veg store is nowadays. Everything's laid on top of each other.
Industrial factory. Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like, this is more like, okay, you got your bananas, you got your dish, you got your that, all this in this place.
Yeah.
So AK, what's this? What I was hearing about some crossbow situation? What was people playing crossbow, archery? What, I don't get it.
Nah, so what I've heard, what I've seen on the news was in March 2024, so last year, someone was shooting people out of their window with a crossbow. Yeah, literally shooting people out their window with a crossbow.
Yeah, I have to look around now, man.
Woman got a bolt stuck in her head. Yeah, but she survived it though. So like, more power to her.
You know, there's a sort of a big wound in the back of her head. The bolt, he said, was red and black and was made of metal, and she's now scared to even go outside.
A square in East London has seen 2 crossbow attacks in 10 days. A woman and a man have both been injured in what seem like completely random attacks. So far, no one knows who carried them out. One resident of Arnold Circus in Shoreditch said the attacks felt like the work of a sniper.
Yeah, madness. Imagine just walking around there, someone just sticks there, just like, you know what, I'm just going to stick my crossbow out, bang. But there was a police investigation. I think the guy got bagged. I mean, I can't imagine he didn't.
Wow.
But yeah, madness. So because of the nature of this being the first like building of its kind, first development of its kind, it's actually grade 2 listed, which means it's a protected building, and it means that only limited stuff can be done. It can never be knocked down unless it gets taken off the listing, because obviously it's such a historical sort of estate. But something that even proves that, I've just seen here on the bin, it says Bethnal Green.
Yeah.
So according to my dad, and I have heard, Bethnal Green used to be its own borough. Just for a little bit of time, Bethnal Green used to be its own borough. So they got the Bethnal Green neighbourhood bin, but it really
And that looks like it's been there for years. Yeah, so that's it.
That's it, another good video.
Another good video. But guys, if you know someone from this community, if you from this community and you want to take us around, I know AK showed us some great, you know, information, some great historical facts. Yeah. But if you're from here and you got history of being here and you want to take us around, please contact us right now, Tea&Crumpets. But guys, this has been another episode. Where was we?
Boundary Estate, Shoreditch / Bethnal Green, E2.
Yeah, and you know what? This has been another episode. Tea&Crumpets, Magic J, AK, once again. You're gonna see him more on the channel. You've seen him a couple times, you're gonna see him more. How can they find you?
Find me on my Instagram and my TikTok. It's shot by AK, but the O in shot is a 0.
That's it. And guys, make sure you watch the rest of our videos. We got some amazing videos, and watch the following video coming out very soon. Peace.